Although we seldom think about it, our lifestyle is intimately connected with and highly dependent on agriculture. In this lecture, we will examine key concepts and spatial patterns in agricultural geographies, to include agricultural systems such as different types of commercial farming. These topics are important to geography because of how and why the spatial patterns of agriculture have emerged and diffused in a global setting. Commercial farming is the other broad category of agricultural systems and is one part of the large industry of food production, often referred to as agribusiness. Agribusiness is the interconnectedness involving farmers, processors, distributors, and retailers. One of the hallmarks of agribusiness is vertical integration, where these companies will own one or more of the other stages in the production of the finished product. One of the commercial agricultural systems is plantation agriculture, which is a large estate in tropical or subtropical areas that specialize in the production of cash crop. A cash crop is a high-value crop such as coffee, tea, palm oil, and sugar. Plantation agriculture has been around for several hundred years, when the Portuguese established the first plantations in Africa in the 15th century. The plantation used slave labor to produce sugarcane. This system perpetuated a dual society where two distinct social classes exist: the upper class plantation managers and the lower class laborers. Many plantations today are owned by multinational corporations in Europe and North America, which spur a dual economy, with a large-scale export-oriented operation alongside smallholder agricultural systems. Historically, plantations were established near the coast or serviced by rail lines in order to facilitate the export of plantation commodities. The top photo is a sugar plantation near Durban, South Africa. It is presently more cost-effective to burn the vegetation that remains once the sugar cane is harvested, though such burning is contested by environmentalists. The bottom photo shows modest housing for tea plantation workers in Malaysia. Work conditions at plantations are demanding, sometimes dangerous, and the pay is low. Commercial gardening is the intensive production of non-tropical fruits, vegetables, and flowers for sale off the farm. Historically, farmers lived close to the market to avoid spoilage, but today these items can be transported easier and more quickly, therefore expanded markets beyond local consumption. Truck farming is a form of commercial gardening, whereas these farms are usually large, specialize in one product, such as tomatoes, lettuce, melons, broccoli, onions, and strawberries, are distant from market and rely on migrant farm laborers during the harvest season. Truck farming came about not because the farmer needed a truck to move its product, but that is a term that also means to barter. Truck farming in the United States is highly concentrated in the southeast and the Caucasus region of Central Asia. And another form of commercial gardening is Mediterranean agriculture, which is located around the rim of the Mediterranean Sea. This historically was centered on the integration of livestock, a grain crop, and tree or vine crop, such as grapes or olives. For example, sheep graze in between the grapevines, an illustration of one facet of the integration of livestock and vine crops in Portugal as shown in the photo. The sheep keep the vineyard weeded, provide manure, and can be trained to avoid eating the grapevines. Commercial dairy farming is an intensive and heavily mechanized form of commercial agriculture, and it is the management of cattle for producing and marketing milk, butter, cheese, or other milk byproducts. Historically, milk produced for the day was consumed by the farm due to its perishability, or it was located close to the city for quicker delivery. Dairy farming areas on the outskirts of the cities that supply fluid milk constitute the milk shed. Later, improvements in transportation made milk more accessible and created a larger milk shed. Today, California has been the largest fluid milk producing state, which development has been closely associated with the emergence of dry lot dairies or dairies that facilitate high volume production. The photo shows a California dry lot dairy, which contains no pasture and holds about 600 dairy cows on an open lot, often with sunshades. In contrast, dairy farms in the upper Midwest typically maintain about 70 pasture-fed dairy cows. The chart shows milk production around the world. Regionally, there are three main centers of milk production: Europe, South Asia, and North America. More than half of the milk produced in South Asia comes from water buffalo. Historically, practiced mixed crop and livestock farming was an integrated system that involved raising crops to feed livestock. The animal byproducts, the animal products were then sold off the farm, generating most of the income. Today, some of these farms have evolved into a specialized crop instead of mixed crop production. These are considered cash grain farms, also known as commercial grain farms, that usually produce grain sales of 50% or more of the total revenue of the farm. For example, the Corn Belt in the U.S. emerged as a specialty of corn, soybean, and hog production. Many Corn Belt farms do still integrate the production of corn, soybeans, and hogs. However, changes in farming practices in the region are underway. The graph underscores some important domestic developments, namely that the amount of corn used for feed is declining, whereas the amount of corn used to make ethanol is rising sharply. The renewable fuel standards, part of the country's attempt to reduce its reliance on foreign oil, are expected to sustain this trend. The map shows the geography of corn production and ethanol plants in the United States. Strong market prices for corn help to increase the acreage planted to the crop and can tempt farmers to plant corn 2 years consecutively before rotating in soybeans, even though corn yields diminish significantly in the second year. The photo shows a typical hog CAFO, also known as Concentrated Animal Feeding Operations, near Milan, Missouri. Hog farms are distinguishable by long rectangular buildings that are grouped together and adjacent to a lagoon, which holds the waste from the hog houses. Since the 1990s, the Corn Belt has lost hog farms to North Carolina and Oklahoma, in part due to the result of lower labor and production costs and the economies of scale. Some of the largest hog farms can produce in excess of 200,000 hogs per year. CAFOs are also called factory farms, which is a farm that houses huge quantities of livestock or poultry in buildings, dry lot dairies, or feedlots. Feedlots are confined spaces used for the controlled feeding of animals. Commercial grain farming is extremely important in today's global food production as well as other industries. Not only does wheat, rice, corn, barley, oats, millet, and sorghum feed people, they frequently have industrial uses as well. Commercial grain farming is agriculture involving the large-scale, highly mechanized cultivation of grain and is closely associated with temperate grassland environments. The photo at the top shows wheat being harvested in Saskatchewan, Canada. In the southern plains, wheat is harvested in early summer. In the northern plains, wheat is harvested at the end of the summer. Crews of laborers and custom cutters with combines move across the wheat belt to take advantage of these seasonal differences. Lands, on the other hand, that are unsuitable for more valuable agricultural uses are used for livestock ranching. Livestock ranching is a form of agriculture devoted to raising large numbers of cattle or sheep for sale to meat processors and are closely associated with arid or semi-arid regions and require a huge amount of land. The photo at the bottom shows sheep grazing in Wanaka, New Zealand. In New Zealand, more than 40% of the farmland in the country is devoted to sheep raising, and the country remains the world's leading exporter of mutton. Both commercial grain agriculture and livestock ranching are extensive agricultural systems, which are characterized by low inputs of labor, capital, or equipment per unit area of land. Please pause the video and answer the following. Using one of the commercial agricultural systems as an example, describe the impact commercial farming has on the landscape. Also, what could happen to our agricultural footprint as population increases? Could it get bigger or smaller? There are no right or wrong answers for the second part, but explain your position. In your own words, using the text as a guide, be thorough and specific with your answer.